Michael Jackson lived all of his life entertaining the world. Michael Jackson was a great entertainer. He was loved. He used to appear and people collapsed. People loved him. People adored him. But the last 10 years of his life were constant battle. It was a period where he lived his life fighting instead of entertaining. Because fame goes with a lot of negativity. You who is there at the limelight, you need to be extremely careful. Now, this episode of the Love Dictionary TV is not meant to talk about Michael Jackson. I want to talk about another artist. When Michael Jackson died, I asked myself a question: who's next? Then all of a sudden, we had him, R. Kelly. R. Kelly has been a great entertainer. He has been a superstar. Come to gospel music, he's good. Come to R&B, he's good. He's an entertainer, full-time, all-round entertainer. Very famous. But today, he's spending his life in prison. And he might spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, I am not here to advocate for him. I just brought this story of Michael Jackson linking to R. Kelly to look at how fame might end your life. Okay. This is somebody who has a very, very huge following. But today, he is behind bars. There's nothing anybody can do. Now, if truly he did what he did, then that's to let us understand that we need to be careful the way we manage our fame, because it comes with a lot of things: money, travel the world, women, fun, like everything we want, it comes with it. But how we handle these things might tend to be our downfall. This is how R. Kelly's downfall came. I want us to watch this footage and we'll come back with final analysis. My name is Elvis Sumbele and this is the Love Dictionary TV. Let us watch the downfall of R. Kelly.
Well, he was one of the biggest names in music, vaulting to fame with songs like I Believe, I Can Fly, Bump and Grind, and Ignition. Tonight, R. Kelly now faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars and stands convicted of using his fame and the network of people at his disposal to sexually abuse women, girls, and boys. Late today, a federal jury found R. Kelly guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking involving interactions with 6 women. Over the course of the 6-week trial, prosecutors laid out in harrowing and graphic detail how R. Kelly was the ringleader of a criminal enterprise that bolstered his music, his image, and his sexual gratification by recruiting women and girls for sex, holding them against their will, and threatening them if they misbehaved. Some of the most gripping testimony came from a woman who said R. Kelly whisked her to his Chicago recording studio, where she was kept locked up and was drugged before sexually assaulted by him while she was passed out. We're standing by to talk with R. Kelly's former bodyguard, but first, our Stephanie Ramos leads us off.
Tonight, after decades of suspicion and allegations, it took just 9 hours of deliberation for a Brooklyn jury to find R&B singer R. Kelly guilty on all counts. The singer facing decades in prison for 8 counts of sex trafficking and 1 count of racketeering, alleging Kelly was the leader of an enterprise made up of individuals who would, quote, recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with Kelly, arranging for them to travel to concerts throughout the United States.
Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune to prey on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for his own sexual gratification. To the victims in this case, your voices were heard and justice was finally served.
Over the course of 6 weeks, jurors hearing testimony from 50 witnesses, some of them victims, women, boys, and girls at the time. Gloria Allred represents several of the witnesses.
I have been practicing law for 47 years. During this time, I have pursued many sexual predators who have committed crimes against women and children. Of all the predators that I have pursued, however, Mr. Kelly is the worst.
ABC's Michael Strahan spoke with R. Kelly's longtime assistant, Diana Copeland, in August.
They asked me during the trial, did you notice their reaction with males? And I did. They didn't want to speak to the males. In fact, sometimes they would ask me to interact with the males.
So they didn't want to speak to the males, or were they told not to speak to the males?
Well, that piece I can't speak to because I don't know if they were told, but I would say that you can pretty much surmise that that was probably the case.
One of Kelly's survivors testifying at the trial, saying she was a member of his fan club and she was just 16 years old when she met him.
No one deserves what they experienced at his hands or the threats and harassment they faced in telling the truth about what happened to them. We hope that today's verdict brings some measure of comfort and closure to the victims.
During the trial, Kelly's defense team alleging that accusers were just jilted lovers. Tonight, his lawyers saying they plan to appeal today's decision.
Of course, Mr. Kelly is disappointed. He was not anticipating this verdict because based on the evidence, why should he anticipate this verdict?
Kelly also facing a slew of other state and federal charges in multiple states stemming from abuse allegations. Among the women mentioned during testimony, famed R&B singer Aaliyah, who died in 2001. Prosecutors argued in a separate case that she forged her age on her birth certificate in order to marry R. Kelly when she was just 15 years old. One of the final witnesses in the trial described him abusing Aaliyah in 1993 when she was just 13 or 14 years old.
That was not a couple. That was an abusive connection where someone trusted her producer and was preyed upon. I didn't want to bring this up, but over the years and after watching Surviving R. Kelly, I felt it was an obligation as a fan, as a journalist, and as a woman to address it.
A representative for R. Kelly said the singer didn't know Aaliyah was underage.
15 is not of the age of legal consent, right? I mean,
right, except that my understanding is that she did not claim to be 15. And in order to get married, she had to lie about her age.
And he is saying that he had no idea.
No idea.
In July 2019, he was arrested after a federal grand jury indicted him on 13 counts, including child pornography, enticement of a minor, and obstruction of justice. That trial was pushed back several times, in part to allow the Brooklyn trial to go first. And in February 2019, Kelly turning himself in after Cook County State's attorney charged him with multiple counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. R. Kelly has denied those allegations.
Are you innocent?
The furor over the R. Kelly sex abuse was reignited after a Lifetime documentary detailed allegations of sexual abuse by R. Kelly.
Can you describe the physical abuse?
I wish that I would have been able to see the fullness of the monster I was dealing with.
Kelly has long denied all accusations of sexual misconduct and claimed his innocence in a testy 2019 interview on CBS This Morning.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
He has consistently protested rather loudly against these claims against him. Stephanie Ramos joins us now. So what comes next, and what kind of sentence is R. Kelly looking at?
So R. Kelly is scheduled to be sentenced May 4th of 2022, and prosecutors today said Kelly faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years behind bars and up to life in prison, Lindsay.
And give us a sense of the reaction pouring in from this verdict.
Lindsay, so much reaction pouring in, especially on social media. So many people saying they just can't believe it's taken this many years to prosecute R. Kelly on his alleged sex crimes. Others saying that justice has finally been served. But there are, of course, supporters of the singer. But for the majority of the people out there, what we've seen is that they're feeling relieved by this verdict. Lindsay.
Yeah, many saying that the action was not taken criminally until that documentary came out. Stephanie Ramos, our thanks to you. And for more on this verdict, we bring in Jem Pratz, R. Kelly's childhood friend and former bodyguard. Jem, thank you so much for coming on the show. Listen, in past interviews, you've said that you wish that you had done more early on to stop R. Kelly. What's your reaction tonight to this guilty verdict?
Lindsay, it's just sad for everyone involved. The young women, his children, fans. It's almost like if someone has terminal cancer, you kind of are ready for an outcome, but when it happens, it's still kind of numbing. And I'm torn a little bit, to be honest with you.
And have you spoken with Dre at all, who, of course, is R. Kelly's ex-wife, mother of his 3 children, and really like a sister to you? How's she responding to this verdict?
I haven't today. I would imagine, she's probably in disbelief, even though I think she was pretty prepared for it. I imagine I will. Again, I'm just really worried about her kids, her children. This has got to be extremely hard.
And Jem, I know we've talked in the past, you also said it in the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, that when R. Kelly was tried that first time in Chicago, you said that when he came back, the verdict came back not guilty, you said you felt relieved. Why the change then with today's guilty verdict?
Because of what I found out literally over the last 6 years in terms of people I've talked to, Drea, to find out certain facts that I didn't know 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was not a litany of people. It was probably 4 or 5 individuals. And of course, when it's your friend, you're gonna back your friend. But just hearing and talking to some of the victims and hearing some of the testimonials and seeing the evidence, some of the things that I know to be true were just kind of shocking when I found out.
I can understand the idea of wanting to back your friend. You've known R. Kelly since you were both teenagers. You were 15 when you first met. You've talked about seeing him change over the years. But even if somebody is your friend, you might see some red flags early on. Were there any indicators for you that you went back later and you thought, oh, I guess that didn't quite add up?
Yes. In hindsight, yeah, there were, Lindsay. When you're younger, when you're in your late 20s, and certain things, when you look back on it, yeah, you're like, oh wow, that makes sense. Or there were some things, and it troubles me. I'm not gonna lie about that. Certain things that I really can't talk about that I absolutely wish I had a foothold in and done something about.
The jury agreed with prosecutors that R. Kelly's sex abuse amounted to a criminal enterprise. As his former friend and bodyguard, did you see evidence of that kind of widespread operation? Were there other people who were around him that you were concerned about early on?
Not during the time that I was around. You got to remember, Lindsay, we're going from 15 until probably the second album. I got married shortly thereafter, and I wasn't really around during the 2001, 2, 3 period. So I can't speak on what happened, from 2000 on. We were still cool. I'd still sing it, but I wasn't in the studio like that, like I was for the first couple of albums. I can tell you this, if I was, it'd be probably a different outcome. If there were a few of us that were childhood friends that were around, there'd probably be a different outcome versus a lot of people that are around him that I considered yes men.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to his survivors tonight, to the many accusers and victims?
I hope this brings them some solace. You know, I pray for them. You know, I know they've been through a lot. I've spoken with a lot of them, and it's a lot. You know, and trust me, I've had long conversations with quite a few of them, and they're hurting and still battling this 20 years later. You know, it's almost like a form of PTSD. It's not going away. A lot of them have, you know, got therapy. So you know, again, I just hope this brings some sort of solace. But Lindsay, it's a monumental tragedy all the way around. I mean, this is almost like a Greek tragedy. I mean, to see someone that you were friends with poor, grow up, you know, we were in the L, you know, when he was singing for change, and then become, at one point, the #1 superstar, you know, in the world at one point, and working with everyone to the fall like this. It's just like, it's literally like a Greek tragedy.
I understand that there's a lot that you want to say that you cannot say publicly, at least. So I do appreciate what you can share, and thank you so much for your time and talking with us tonight, Jim.
Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
Welcome back. Now, you saw what happened to this great star. Now, this is just a lesson for us to understand what happens when you mismanage fame when it's given to you. All right? Now, remember I said in the beginning of this video that it might be true that he did what he's been accused of. That it might also not be true, you know, of what he's been accused of. But then, the lesson I want us to draw from all this is that we need to be extremely careful, and we need to be cautious of the fact that once you become famous, a star, a celebrity, there are a lot of things that will come with it. You have a lot of setbacks, you have a lot of people just hating you for nothing. This is R. Kelly. He might spend the rest of his life in jail. Now, I am not giving a final conclusion of his life. Now, this is for you to tell me at the comment section. What do you think? Do you believe that R. Kelly really committed this crime? If he did them, then give me your point of view. Let us have a debate on the comment section. This is a Love Dictionary TV. My name is Elvis. Please remember to subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we upload a new video. Thanks for watching this episode of the Love Dictionary TV, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.